Hey everybody, it's Emily Price with the Price Group at Keller Williams Collective. And guess what we have for you? We have our first monthly market update of the year. That's right, it's January, as you can tell behind me, January 2026. And I'm here to tell you that no matter the weather here in Louisville, Kentucky, hence all the snow around me, this market is always moving. So hop along with me and I'm gonna take you through everything you need to know about the Greater Louisville housing market here as we enter 2026. Welcome to January. Okay, everybody, so you know one of the first things that we always talk about when we talk about our housing market updates here in Louisville, Kentucky, is that we are gonna look at inventory, which is the number of homes available. So inventory says how many homes are actually on the market, how many homes are actually available for purchase today. So here at the end of January in the Greater Louisville area, and I'm going off of my notes today since we're outside, okay? We have over 3,000 homes available for purchase on the market. To be exact, we have 3,138 homes. Now, 4 weeks ago, so when you think about kind of right before we were going into right at the holiday season, actually, we had just a little more than that, but basically the same. We were at 3,229. Now, if you go to the start of this year, which we're going into the fourth week, so it's not a big difference. We're talking about the top of January versus 3 weeks later. Again, right about the same. We were at 3,085. Now, the number to take note of is where we are this year in January of 26 as compared to where it was in January of 25, a year ago last year. So this time last year, it was a significant difference. We only had 2,315 homes for sale on the market this time last year. So what does this mean? This means that here in 2026, there are more choices for buyers than there was last year. In fact, if you were comparing the amount of choices you have as a buyer right now at the top of 2026 in comparison to what it was at the top of 2025, there is almost a 36% increase in the availability of choices. So another factor that we are going to look at when we're studying the housing market trends and the behavior of the Greater Louisville housing market is that we're also going to look at the average sold price. So what are homes actually selling for? Well, we know that the inventory is up, which means that there's more competition for sellers, more choices for buyers. However, how's that affecting the sales price? So today, as we are rounding out January, we are looking at an average sales price and by sales price I mean sold, an average sold price of $368,233. Now, 4 weeks ago, so as we were rounding out December, we were a little under that at $333,842. Now, at the top of this year, which again wasn't that long ago, just a couple weeks ago, we were at $329,454. So, but what I want us to really pay attention to is as we're going into 26, how does that differ from when we were going into 25? So kind of that year over year difference. This time last year, that price point was lower than it is right now. This time last year, we were at $323. And again, today we're at $368. So you guys, the inventory is up by about 35%. And also the average sold price is up too. That is trending up right under 14% at 13.9% higher than this time last year. And yes, homes in Greater Louisville move on the market any day or any season. And we've got this very wintry January here and still our homes are moving. So when we talk about how long it takes for a home to go from for sale to contract accepted, let's take a look at that. So that time period where a seller says for sale and the for sale sign in theory goes in the yard to the time that the buyer makes the offer, the buyer and the seller negotiate it, and it goes to contract accepted, how long is that? Well, today in Greater Louisville, we're hitting right at 70 days. So a little more than 2 months. Now, 4 weeks ago, as we were kind of like in the high of that holiday season, we were less than that. It was actually moving faster at 49 days. Now, at the start of the year, which was just a few weeks ago, we were still a little faster than where we are right now at 52 days on market. And this time last year, so a year ago, it was taking 49 days to go from for sale to under contract. And today it's taking about 70 days to go from for sale to under contract. Now, is that indicative of the fact that there's a greater supply, more inventory that is perhaps slowing things down a little bit? Perhaps. Or is it indicative of the fact that we have a very wintry week right now? We're reporting data to you, and tonight we're going to have the coldest temperature that we've had, I think I read, in 3 years in Louisville. Is it indicative of that? Well, you know what? Here at the Price Group, we study the data week after week, month after month. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and follow along with me, because I'll update you here on the future market data, and we'll know just exactly if that 70 days on market is how we're trending into February, or if that is indicative of this beautiful snowy weather. Either way, properties are moving, and in the grand scheme of real estate, 70 days from for sale to under contract is not that long. And as you know, when you've been following along with me, Emily Price with the Price Group at Keller Williams Collective for our monthly market updates, you know that one of the things that we track without fail every single month is what exactly are the interest rates doing? Because interest rates impact a buyer's affordability, okay? And the more real estate is affordable to the buyer, then oftentimes the greater demand there is from the buyer side. Now remember, demand comes from the buyer and supply comes from the seller. So affordability impacts demand because it helps the buyers with their affordability, and in turn that means that it also impacts the seller, right? Because more buyers who perceive the real estate purchase that they want to make as affordable, well then the more they buy, and that in turn creates positive outcomes for sellers. So here we go. Today, where is that average mortgage rate sitting? Well, if you're looking at the 30-year average rate, we're sitting at 6.19%. Today, again, as we're rounding out January of 26, the 15-year rate is, of course, a little under that at 5.76%. Now, these are both, our 30-year rate is slightly lower than where we were 4 weeks ago at the height of the holiday season. 4 weeks ago, we were sitting at 6.25% for the 30, and 4 weeks ago for our 15-year rate, we were basically the same. We were at 5.75, whereas today we're at 5.76. So not much movement at all in that 15-year rate. Now, when we look at the start of the year, and again, you've been watching this monthly market update, so you know the theme. That wasn't that long ago. We're just in January. So the difference between January 1st and where we are right now at the end of January, you guys, it's basically like almost no movement. So at the start of the year, we were at 6.2 for that 30-year. Today, we're at 6.19. And the start of 26 for that 15-year, we were at 5.74. And today, we're at 5.76. So January, safe to say, pretty steady, all right? Now, this time last year, it's where it always gets so fascinating. How are we doing going into 2025 versus going into 2026 when it comes to mortgage rates and the affordability for buyers? Well, this time last year, you guys, we were almost a whole point higher. We were at 7.07% as an average 30-year rate. And for that average 15-year rate, we were at 6.49. So buyers get excited because the rates today, you're in such a better position than you were this time last year. And seller, again, that's good news for you, because anytime we get the demand excited in the market, it has a positive outcome for the sellers. You guys, 2026 is shaping up to be a little cold today, but awesome overall. Okay, so if you have been following along with us for quite some time, you know that one of my favorite things to track when it comes to understanding how the real estate market is performing has to do with, you guessed it, the absorption rate. Now, what exactly is the absorption rate? The absorption rate is the measurement of how demand, which comes from the buyers, and supply, which is the inventory, which is representative of the sellers, how those two correlate. Okay? And so what absorption rate does is it says, hey, if we were to freeze the market, the market is frozen in temperature right now, but not frozen in interest, that's for sure. If we were to freeze the market and say, no new homes to come on market, we're going to sell all the homes that are already on market before new homes come on. If that were to happen, never does. It's just a way of understanding the mathematical concept here, okay? But if that were to happen, then it says, well, if no new homes came on the market and the demand from the buyers stayed exactly the same, how long would it take, based upon the pacing of today's current demand, for us to sell out all the inventory that we have? So a general rule of thumb in real estate is that if you have anywhere kind of under the 5-month mark in absorption rate, that's considered overall a seller's market. If you have a 5 to 6-ish month absorption rate, that's considered a balanced market. Those never last long. When we hit that at some point in the future, it won't be here for long, okay? And then when the scale tips and we're into that 7+ month absorption rate, you have an academically defined buyer's market. Now, what's important to note, we've been in a seller's market in Louisville for quite some time. And so what's important for everyone to understand, both buyers and sellers, is that a 1 month absorption rate, while that's a seller's market, is going to feel differently, and buyers and sellers are going to have to behave differently, make some different choices than we would say in a 3-month absorption rate, which is also a seller's market. So under 5 months, all seller's market, and still within that spectrum, there's going to have some differences in feels and strategies and tactics. That's why you need a really trusted real estate professional such as myself and the Price Group representing you to help you navigate and make smart, great, profitable choices when it comes to all things real estate. Okay, so let's get to it, right? What is this absorption rate for the Greater Louisville area as we launch into 2026? Well, drum roll, because here we go. Today, as we close out this wintry January, we are right under 4 months in Louisville. That's the biggest, the largest that I've seen it in quite some time. All right, so we're at 3.97 months. Still a seller's market, but much different than when we were at, say, like a 1.5 month absorption rate, okay? Now, 4 weeks ago, at the height of that holiday season, we were almost a whole month tighter at 2.89 months. Now, at the top of the year, so just a couple weeks ago, we were at 2.85, today at 3.97. So yes, let's give that a good pause and say, is that increased absorption rate number because of all this winter wonderland? Again, it might be, and the one way you're gonna know for sure is to hit that subscribe button and follow along with me as we track it in the near future so we know just exactly what the trend is versus how it was impacted by weather. Now, this time last year, curious, it was actually almost the same. So today we're at 3.97, and this time last year we were at 3.67. The takeaway, you guys, Louisville is staying within that seller market as defined by absorption rate. That's the takeaway. You can count on me, Emily Price, with the Price Group at Keller Williams Collective, whether it's rain, sun, snow, or bitter cold, that I'm going to show up consistently for you, making sure that we are tracking. You can count on us tracking what our market is doing every day, week over week, month over month, and year over year. And we're going to package that information and bring those insights directly to you so that you know exactly what it means for you as a property owner, as a potential buyer, as a potential seller. What ultimately this all means is that if you've got some interest in real estate this year, perhaps if you are thinking about making a move, or maybe if you just anticipate life happening in some way this year that might then have you anticipating a real estate need, I need you to reach out to me. Reach out to me or any member of the Price Group, because we'll take all of this insight, all this market trend, all this market data, and we'll take that through the lens of what your goals are and what you need, and we will help make it make sense for what you're looking to do, what you're needing to do, what questions you need to have answered, whether you're positioned as a buyer, a seller, or both. I'm Emily Price with the Price Group at Keller Williams Collective, always keeping you informed. So just make sure you don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button right now and follow along with me. I'll be here in the winter, the spring, the summer, and the fall. Whether I'm freezing or not, you can count on me. Emily Price with the Price Group at Keller Williams Collective.